Farm, family, community. This is Midwest Farm Weekly.
Good morning, I'm Elaine Wells, and welcome to Midwest Farm Weekly. In your news headlines, another productive week on Wisconsin farms, according to our latest crop report. Corn planting now 73% complete. That is 5 days ahead of last year. Corn emergence, or the plants that are visible out of the ground, was 23% complete. Soybeans are 66% planted. That is 5 days ahead of last year, and 19% of those are emerged. Our first cutting of alfalfa hay is 5% complete. All hay condition is 78% good to excellent, and that is a 3 percentage point improvement over last week. Winter wheat fields are now 6% headed, and the condition of those fields is rated 66% good to excellent, and that also is up a percentage point from last week. Wisconsin is implementing the mandatory national milk testing strategy. It's required by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and it's all part of the plan to address bird flu infections in dairy cattle. The department expects to get 1 milk sample per dairy farm each month to be tested at the Wisconsin Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory. These samples will be primarily gathered by your milk haulers. I did speak with DATCAP Secretary Randy Romanski about the process.
So Wisconsin has actually been doing testing for a while. As of right now, there have been over 7,000 tests of dairy cows in Wisconsin, and all of them have turned up negative for the virus. So that's a good place to start. Having said that, the federal government, because of what they've seen in flare-ups in other states, has required that all states have a mandatory testing program to test every dairy farm. Well, as you know, Elaine, Wisconsin, when you test every dairy farm, you're testing over 5,000 farms, as opposed to other states that maybe only have 100. So it could be a complex system, but you know, the dairy farmers shouldn't really see much difference, if at all. So it's not like a new person is coming onto their farm to take a test that is not proper biosecurity measures. So what's going to happen is a test that they get taken by the milk quality labs will just be split off. One goes to test milk quality. Another part of that goes to the Wisconsin Veterinary Diagnostic Lab. WVDL will do the testing, as they have been. And hopefully there's no disruption to the dairy farm. And hopefully what those tests continue to show, is that Wisconsin continues to be free of H5N1.
And if H5N1 is detected, the state will then work with the farm to meet quarantine requirements. The Food and Drug Administration and USDA continue to emphasize that our commercial milk supply is safe because of the pasteurization process. The Alice in Dairyland finals took place last weekend, and Sarah Hagenow of Poynette will be Wisconsin's 78th Alice in Dairyland. In this position, Hagenow will work for the contract year as a full-time communications professional for DATCAP, educating the public about the importance of agriculture in Wisconsin. The 6 top candidates spent several weeks preparing for the finals, including participating in several agribusiness tours, media interviews right here on Midwest Farm, marketing training, and more. Hagenow just graduated with a degree in agricultural and food business management and a minor in international agriculture. With her selection, a unique milestone, the first time sisters have ever both held the role of Alice in Dairyland. Her sister Ashley was the 76th Alice.
It is so meaningful to me to be able to be named, the 78th Alice in Dairyland and join this legacy with all of the previous Alices. But it's especially so meaningful to me to join another sisterhood with my sister. It's fun, we each have our own different qualities and similarities. I'm so excited to bring a little bit of my own flair to the role and show how my own unique qualities and attributes can contribute to Alice in Dairyland. But at the end of the day, my part in agriculture and the legacy here is much smaller compared to the larger whole. It's not about me as an individual, it's about helping maintain the legacy of agriculture that we have and telling the story and ensuring that we have a safe, secure, and reliable food supply chain to get the most wholesome, nutritious, and enjoyable products to consumers throughout our state, throughout the nation, and throughout the world. So I'm so incredibly honored to be joining this legacy, and it's so memorable, but I also recognize that it's much bigger than me, and I'm so excited to be a part of something that brings so much meaning to our state.
Haley Heinzel, our current Alice, will continue her term until the transition in July. A 163-year-old farmstead near Fond du Lac is home to an award-winning ice cream parlor. Kelly Country Creamery just brought home 7 gold medals from the International Dairy Awards. Flavors like lemon blue, black licorice, and peach really connected with the judges. This family is marking 15 years in the ice cream business. They take pride in sharing the story of agriculture and their family history of farming with visitors. The secret to success, they say, is using fresh ingredients.
Our mix is made by Lamers Dairy. We stopped milking cows 2 years ago, but Lamers Dairy just works with 6-7 farms, and so it's all local milk that goes into it with our own recipe on it. It's not your run-of-the-mill type place. It's just an old-fashioned ice cream shop in the middle of a hay field. You get to experience a great product in many different flavors and combinations to sundae shakes, malts, things like that. A friendly staff, and just a great outside atmosphere also.
This time of year, the creamery is open Wednesday through Sunday. They move to 7 days a week in early July. Be sure to watch their social media pages for an update on their annual Sunflowers Taking Flight event, typically in late July, depending on the growing season. They have raised over $250,000 for Old Glory Honor Flight. Ahead on Midwest Farm Weekly, bringing farming to the classroom. We'll check out a system that is allowing the Luxembourg-Casco School District to grow students' knowledge of agriculture. Welcome back to Midwest Farm Weekly. She's fresh out of the field, scissors in hand, in pocket, in car. Erica Bierstrom is working on tracking our local alfalfa crop. She is a regional dairy educator for Kewaunee, Door, and Brown counties through the University of Wisconsin-Madison Division of Extension. Nice to see you.
Hi.
I saw all of your results rolling into my inbox, so I thought, well, gosh, it's time to check in with you. For people who don't know much about the Peak Scissor Clip, tell us about the process.
Well, I go out to a field, I take samples. What I do in the 3 counties that I cover is I get different locations, some along the lakeshore, some inland. I try to get at least 2 to 3 from each county, from Brown, Door, and Kewaunee counties, and I take samples and take them to the lab twice a week.
What are we hoping to find out from them?
We will be testing for part of the season this year relative feed quality and then also relative feed value. So there's a difference. So the relative feed quality is how the cow can digest and consume that feed, and with the relative feed value, that kind of gives the farmer an idea of when is it time to cut, when do I put it in the silo or however I store it. And then we're also testing for some other components and protein.
I know it can be very varied from Door to Brown to Kewaunee County, but what are you seeing on average right now?
Well, we have fields that are as tall as 26 inches and some that are as short as 16 inches. So that's a big range. It's probably close to a week or more between harvest times between those 2 locations. That's why it's important for me to get a location along the lakeshore and certainly some on the towards inland.
What can happen if people are too eager to be harvesting or wait too long?
Well, some people are a little bit more eager to get the harvest in. It really depends on weather, of course. The rain this past week really put a stop on that because I think a lot of people were ready to go. Sure. But then that really slowed it down, and it was growing very, very rapidly. So this did slow it down a little bit, kind of put it in check a little. The crop looks fantastic. It hasn't even started to bud, so it's in good shape.
Talk a little bit about how a farmer determines this. Does it have to do with storage and how they're going to be using the crop? I mean, if we're going bunker versus silo versus obviously baling is a whole different thing.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a difference depending on how they store it. I think the biggest factor is who they're feeding it to.
Okay.
Really, a lot of the farms now are shooting to harvest at around 200, so what they get into the silo is around 170. Okay. Used to be shoot for cutting at 170, so what you get in the silo at around 150. And a lot of people are pushing that a lot more now because they'd rather have more quality with a little bit less tonnage.
And do other counties do this? Obviously, you're real busy, but do your counterparts do something similar?
Yes, there's several of them around the state, but we're actually doing a project right now this year with Midwest Forage. I'm not part of that because I get sponsorship independently, but I am providing my data to that project. So there'll be probably around 10 counties participating in that.
And how do we track down your data so we can see if our fields are similar?
Well, they can send me an email or get a hold of me on our website, or we also put that on our website every week, twice a week, and then I email them out so they can get a hold of me.
Well, happy clipping. Thank you for taking time to come in here, and best of luck as you start to do hay on your farm. Thanks, Erica.
Good morning, I'm Storm Team 5 meteorologist Alexis Staniak. This week, still dry for most of the Midwest. So far for the entire year, for liquid precipitation, we've only accumulated just under a foot of rainfall, so not a lot to come through. Higher totals still remain across more so the Ohio River Valley and further off to our west. Things are still dry. Most of the Dakotas, about maybe a half of a foot of accumulation so far for the year. Now, we are actually not too much more below where we should be for precipitation for this time of the month of May. About 100th, maybe 200ths of an inch below where we should be for May here in Green Bay. Areas further to our south and west are very dry, and things are actually starting to improve to our south and east where they do have higher totals for the entire year so far. Now, as we continue towards the end of May and into the month of June, most of the Midwest and into the Great Plains looks to be below average for precipitation. Equal chances the further south you are of just the Midwest, and then further into the southern half of the country. Looks like more precipitation will come through, as over the next 10 days or so, we're only anticipating accumulating about maybe just under a half of an inch of rainfall here in northeast Wisconsin, closer to 1 to 2 inches the closer you are to Oklahoma and into Texas. Now, as we look towards the summer months, most of the Midwest, just like our current outlook is, and same thing with the Great Plains, looks to be in this below average category for precipitation. More above normal numbers are expected for the East Coast. Good news is, after this cooler past week we've had, is most of Wisconsin is looking to be at least slightly above average in temperature as we head through the new month of June. And as we move into the summer months, most of the country looking to be well above average for temperature. That's countrywide. The higher, or rather the further south you go, looks like the higher those temperatures will be. Chance for a few passing sprinkles to finish up this weekend. Into your Memorial Day, quiet with a few isolated sprinkles. We'll stay into this pattern with a few sprinkles all the way through the end of our next work week, but mostly dry for this holiday weekend ahead. Stay with us. More ag news coming up after the break.
It is time for the annual Thunder on the Ledge tractor pull. Mike is here, one of the event organizers, along with Audrey, Evan, Olivia, and Ian, students who will benefit from this fundraiser. Nice to see all of you.
Good morning.
Mike, I always know it's summer when you contact me and you say it's time.
Yep, it's coming again. Friday, June 6th, Thunder on the Ledge in Greenleaf. Same as it's always been. The pull has gotten bigger every year. Last year we had somewhere between 1,800 and 2,000 people show up.
Wow.
So it was a really good turnout. And we expect another big turnout this year, so we're all looking forward to it.
A lot of different classes we can expect?
Yeah, there'll be 8 sanctioned classes through NEW, plus there'll be 4 other farm classes, so we'll have 12 classes of different tractors, pulling trucks, semis running. We're also going to have a fireworks show that night, and as always, food and beverage on site.
I was just going to ask, you've also become known for that as well. People have to make a stop at the food tent.
Yes, last year the burgers went over big, fries went over big. We sold out of pretty much everything that they could cook it up last year. It was a really good turnout, so we're looking forward to this year.
And the event is a fundraiser. Let's talk about where that money is used.
Yeah, the Thunder on the Ledge group raises funds to help out the local youth that are all involved in ag in some way or another through various groups and formats, and that's why we brought a group along today that's going to be benefiting from some of this year's monies and proceeds.
Wonderful. Well, Audrey, let's start with you. Talk about your passion for agriculture. How are you involved?
I live on a dairy farm.
Okay. And talk a little bit about funds like this will help you pursue what in agriculture?
It'll help us buy stuff we need for state fair.
Wonderful. What do you usually show at state fair?
Dairy heifers.
Dairy heifers. Eat a few cream puffs too while you're there?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, pass the microphone on down. Introduce yourself.
My name's Olivia. I grew up on my family's dairy farm, and I show jerseys at State Fair.
Okay.
I'm Evan. I show cows, and I live on my family's dairy farm, and I show brown Swiss and Holsteins and red and whites.
My name is Ian Brick. I attend DePere Middle School, and I enjoy showing red and white Holsteins and also black and white Holsteins.
Ian, don't get rid of that microphone too fast. What does it mean when you have an organization like this supporting youth in agriculture?
Yeah, so having an event like this supporting us for State Fair, it means a whole lot, because when we're going down to West Allis, I mean, it takes a lot of team, and we need a lot of things to keep the animals down there. And it's nice to have someone that cares enough to support us all.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about your experience. Have you shown at fair before?
Yeah, so last year was my first year showing at State Fair. I showed one heifer, but this year I'm hoping to show two. So
Awesome. You want to send the microphone on back?
Yeah,
You can tell
sure.
us about your experiences.
So last year was also my first year. It was like my favorite week all year. I got to hang out with all my friends, and I showed two heifers last year. I'm going to show two again this year. It's really enjoyable.
This year is going to be my third year showing at State Fair, and I would have to agree with Evan. It's one of my favorite weeks of the year, and we're all just really grateful that we have help to go to State Fair, and yeah.
Audrey, why are you proud to continue, whether your family's legacy is on the farm or sharing your story with people at the State Fair? Why are you proud to do that?
Just because it means a lot to all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, talk a little bit about how it feels to know that these students are able to do a lot more things and share this message of agriculture.
Well, it's about the youth that are in the agriculture fields now, because as everybody keeps hearing, farming is turning for more large farms, less farms going away. We need the youth to come up, because not all of us are going to be around forever, and those that are involved now want to pass it on to somebody. Mm-hmm. And in cases where we have family farms, the kids are next, and keeping the kids in it is where this happens. And some of these programs that you get involved with, like State Fair, there's a lot of resources involved, as they alluded to bring animals all the way to West Allis, have them there for a week. There's a lot of funding that's needed to make that happen, and individually either on the kid or on the family, that can become burdensome. So an event like this, we can help them out.
Well, here's the details for Thunder on the Ledge. Friday, June 6th, the event grounds are on School Road in Greenleaf. Admission is $10 unless you're 10 and under, then it's free. Congratulations to you guys for growing such a successful event, and good luck with State Fair.
Thank you.
Kewaunee County High School is growing its own produce. Local 5's Ryan Kudesh tells us how.
With the help of Fork Farm's mobile units called the Flex Farm, Luxembourg Casco High School has just launched its journey of growing their own food.
The Flex Farm is controlled environment agriculture. It is a 9 square foot piece of technology that operates solely on one 110 outlet, water, and nutrients to grow a variety of different crops indoors.
Sue Melessa is Fork Farm's Associate Vice President of Culinary and Food Services. The Flex Farm can produce a wide variety of crops, with lettuce being the commodity highest in demand. The water and nutrients are placed in a basin at the bottom of the unit, and from there are filtered up into the plant roots. These are made right here in Wisconsin and can produce between 20 to 25 pounds of edible greens every 4 weeks.
The ability to get fresh, organic, hyper-local greens at a cost that school districts can afford to put on their meal programs is really tough in the state of Wisconsin and any northern cold weather state. So this brings those hyper-local greens right to their door, just feet from the cafeteria.
Luxembourg Casco's agricultural science teacher, Justine Selk, hopes that through this technology, students get a better understanding of where their food comes from.
The biggest thing is kids understanding that their food doesn't just come from the grocery store. That's a big thing for me. A lot of kids get excited when they can produce food on their own and then use it like on their own table or on their kitchen or cook with it and things like that.
In their food science course, Selk wants the students to eventually grow tomatoes to use for making pizzas. The district just received these units last summer, so Selk is hoping to see an uptick in activity at the greenhouse in the coming years. And that's Sustainably Speaking. I'm Ryan Kudish, Local 5 News.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers has proposed doubling current funding for farmer mental health support initiatives in his next budget. I spoke with DATCAP Secretary Randy Romanski about the impact.
Farming's not a 9-to-5 job, Monday through Friday. And, if a farmer's milking late or they're in a combine long hours or whatever the case might be, they need a 24/7 line available to them, and it's there. And then the other thing that's really important about that, Melaine, is that when they make that call, they're talking to somebody who's going to have a little bit better understanding about the stressors that they feel as a farmer. Mental health is something that can affect all walks of life, but there are unique pockets of stressors that farmers have that other professions may not. We continue to see the levels of stress in the context that we get at the farm center to rise. I think some of that is the fact that our team has been doing a really good job of making sure that people know the farm center is there, that there's a 24/7 farmer wellness helpline that's available to them. And we've built these networks with farmer organizations, with farmers themselves, with healthcare providers, with community members. And I think that knowledge and awareness does make people more conscious of the fact that there are resources out there for them. But the other thing that I would say, Melaine, is that I think these conversations we're having help break down the stigma. And so I think the stress levels continue to rise, but I think because of the awareness that people have about the programs, they're maybe a little bit more willing to make the call. And we want people to understand that if they're feeling stress, there's resources out there for them. So those connections, I think, are helping to raise awareness.